welcome to In-Laws and Crime. I'm Ashley.
I am Megan. This is In-Laws and Crime, Mama.
We did all of our crime files earlier.
Yep. Once
our crime
again,
and our
doing
farm files.
Double record. So
yes, because Megan has a vacation coming up.
We're going to the beach.
Yes.
We're going to we're doing a last hurrah before school. And we're going to the beach with all 57 of our children. We have a big group going with us.
So much fun, though.
Prayers appreciated. Yeah. Yep.
And I'm bringing you today the palate cleanser that I've been promising for weeks.
I know. We promised you a palate cleanser, and then I brought you a two-parter of a freaking insane
was not a palate cleanser
massacre.
At all.
So sorry.
Yes.
My apologies. It did not include children, though.
It didn't. And mine today does not include children.
That's wonderful.
And anyway, it's going to be kind of a light one. And I think it's going to leave us feeling a little mixed.
Yeah. I think it's going to be
50-50.
And it's going to be a shorter one.
It is going to be a short one.
So we gave you a whole 3-parter and then a 2-parter of really long episodes. So now we're going to give you a little
baby one.
Yeah.
A little shorty. One.
It's called choices. It's called options. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we go.
My palate cleanser today is about a lady named Bobbi Parker.
Bobbi Parker. I love a lady named Bobbi.
Yes.
I hope I love her. Anyways.
Oh, you don't hate her.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, I mean, you know what? Depending on where you land at the end of this, maybe.
Okay.
We'll see how you feel. Okay. So Bobbi and Randy Parker were married in 1982 in Oklahoma. At the time, Randy was working as a corrections officer and Bobbi worked as a special ed teacher. And she also worked at the prison teaching inmates with learning disabilities.
Oh, wow.
The two were very happy and eventually had 2 daughters, Robbie and Brandy.
Love it.
By 1992, Randy was promoted to deputy warden at the Oklahoma State Reformatory in Granite, Oklahoma. So Randy moved his family into the deputy warden's residence located on the prison property.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Randy was...
That's terrifying.
I thought so too.
with two kids, two girls?
So they didn't live within prison walls, but they lived on the estate that was the prison.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it was.
So Randy was happy in the small town of Granite. He said it was a quiet little community and he felt like it was a good place to raise his girls.
Mm-hmm.
As for Bobbi, since the move, she became heavily involved in the inmate education and rehabilitation program, and she was even named Teacher of the Year during her career at the Oklahoma State Reformatory.
Wow.
By all accounts, the Parker family was happy and thriving in Granite, Oklahoma. Randy, a respected deputy, was climbing the ranks, Bobbi, a dedicated teacher whose works were recognized throughout the prison, and the girls going to school and just doing their thing. So what more could the Parkers ask for?
You're about to really bring us down.
Not too much.
Okay.
It's a palate cleanser, remember? Still some twists, but still a palate cleanser. So the Oklahoma State Reformatory strongly encouraged vocational and educational programs. These programs were intended to teach inmates marketable skills, reduce inmate idleness, encourage good behavior, and generate products that could be sold at prison crafts fairs or through prison industries, which I didn't know there was a prison craft fair. But
if there's a prison craft fair, I might want to go.
I mean, so... With that said, the newest program to be introduced to the prison was a pottery class.
Shut up.
So the next steps were to find a location for the pottery studio and to find someone who could teach the class.
Okay.
Luckily for the prison, there was a real artist in the crowd, Randolph Dial. I'm sorry, there's a fly
There is
here.
A fly,
and he didn't bother us the whole time until just now. Randolph was a brilliant artist that worked with various mediums, and in fact, he had a master's in art. So those around Randolph described him as a charismatic and funny, but also he could be very manipulative and incredibly persuasive, especially toward women.
Oh.
People said Randolph could make you believe anything. So why was this very talented artist in the Oklahoma State Reformatory?
You're going to tell us.
Per Randolph, he was hired supposedly to kill 27-year-old karate instructor Kelly Dean Hogan in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Kelly was shot and killed in September in 1981, and his case went cold until Randolph unexpectedly, in a drunken state, confessed to the murder of Kelly Hogan in 1986. So he confessed 5 years later.
Wow.
On the day that Kelly was killed, he had received a call from a woman named Patty Thomas, who was inquiring about karate lessons. She asked to meet Kelly at 8 p.m. that night at the karate studio. But Miss Thomas never showed up at the studio. So Thomas went home. At 10 p.m., there was a knock on his door. Kelly's wife was in another room but could hear arguing when her husband answered. Then the next thing she heard was one single gunshot.
Oh, my goodness.
Kelly had been shot in the chest and died at the scene. Denise, Kelly's wife, escaped out the back door where she went to a neighbor's house and called police. And unfortunately, she never saw the shooter. Once Randolph confessed, his story was somebody, possibly someone in the mob, had hired him for $5,000 to kill Kelly Hogan.
In the mob. Okay.
Unfortunately, Randolph would never tell police who actually hired him. So who knows if the story was true or not.
Yeah.
Because another thing about Randolph is that he loved to fabricate stories.
He loved to lie.
He loved to lie. People that knew him throughout his life stated that Randolph claimed to have been a CIA agent.
Oh, wow.
He also said at one point he was in the mafia. Then he served in Delta Force, which I looked up. And Delta Force is a top secret U.S. Army special missions unit focused on counterterrorism, hostage rescue, and direct action raids.
Wow.
And he was supposedly in the Secret Service.
Wow.
So he had quite the career.
Wow, Randy.
Yes, Randolph.
Randolph, excuse me.
Randy is the husband, though. So you're not wrong. So Randy is the husband. Randolph is the inmate.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. That's confusing, but yes. Got it. Got it now.
Either way, despite Randolph's acts or manipulating skills, he was one of the trusted to handle the pottery class. As I mentioned, Randolph, who was actually an incredible artist whose work can be seen and purchased all over the country.
Wow.
And I actually looked him up. And I did find one piece of art that was for sale, and it's a bronze sculpture of Mr. Bojangles, and it is listed for sale on eBay.
Wow. Thank you for that. Okay.
So despite Randolph being a murderer, he was a model inmate and was granted special privileges, meaning he was not considered a threat and he was able to live in minimum security outside of the main prison walls. So he was still in a cell, but he wasn't in like maximum security. They were like, he had a lot more freedom than other inmates to kind of come and go. Bobbi Parker was so happy about the pottery program because it fit right in with her agenda about the skill building, the rehabilitation, keeping the inmates' hands busy. She could not have been happier.
Yeah.
And she could not be more excited to have a low security prisoner with a true skill set to teach the class.
Yeah.
So she was like excited all the way around.
Yeah.
So they have the artist. Now they need the studio.
Oh, God.
Oddly enough, it was decided that the Parkers would convert their garage into the pottery studio.
Fudgesicles.
And again, this is a weird thing to me because the only thing between the Parkers family, like their two daughters, the wife, was just a wall, like just a room wall.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
That's it. Yeah.
Ugh.
So either way, Randolph became a daily fixture in the Parkers' garage and eventually in their home.
Oh, no.
As the pottery class proved to be a success, Bobbi offered to start helping Randolph in the studio, and eventually Bobbi was spending a good amount of time in the studio helping Randolph.
Yeah.
So it's now August 30th, 1994. So we started in 1991. Mm-hmm. Now it's 1994. Mm-hmm. It's been a little under 3 years since the family relocated to Granite, Oklahoma. Randy Parker gets ready for the day and heads to work. As he's leaving, he sees Randolph is already in the studio for the day, which isn't unusual for Randolph to start early in the potty studio.
Potty.
In the potty studio.
Wow.
Yes, in the pottery studio. As the day came to an end, Randy came home and found that Bobbi had left him a note that said she was running a couple of errands and would be home shortly. So I'm just going to assume this is probably late in the afternoon. I couldn't find exact times. Okay. So, but as the evening rolled around, there was still no sign of Bobbi.
Oh, crap.
Now, Randy is beginning to worry. The last person he saw at the home was Randolph.
Yeah.
So Randy called the officers to check Randolph's cell. And sure enough, Randolph was not there.
Oh, no.
Randy is now fearing the worst, that Randolph had escaped and kidnapped Bobbi, and she could be in real danger because he knows Randolph is capable of murder.
Yeah.
The call was dispatched to be on the lookout for Bobbi and Randolph, and now the hard part came. That was sitting and waiting.
Oh, gosh. I can't. And he's still, Randy is, the dad is still the warden of the prison?
Yeah, he's the assistant warden.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So late the same night that Bobbi has not come home, the same night, Bobbi called her mom.
Oh.
She told her mom to tell the kids she would see them soon.
What the hell?
Over the next few days, Bobbi would call her mom 2 more times to leave messages for the girls. Not one call was ever made to Randy or the girls directly.
What is going on?
Then the calls stopped and Bobbi didn't return home.
What? How old are the kids right now? Do we know?
They were 8 and 10.
Oh my gosh.
8 and 10. So eventually, Bobbi's minivan was discovered in Wichita Falls, Texas.
What?
The vehicle was empty except for a pack of cigarettes that Randolph was known to smoke, thus confirming their suspicions that he had kidnapped Bobbi and escaped. As the years ticked by, Randy continued to hold on to hope that his wife would be found and return home one day. And every year that Bobbi didn't come home, Randy and the girls would plan a treat every Mother's Day in her honor.
Oh.
So while the search continues, a couple named Richard and Samantha Dial moved into a small town called Campty, Texas. The couple was hired to work on a chicken farm and began making a living. Richard and Samantha were a quiet couple, friendly, but they didn't socialize as much, and they spent most of their days working on the chicken farm. On April 4th, 2005, just over 10 years since Bobbi Parker went missing, America's Most Wanted re-aired the story about Randolph Dial and Bobbi Parker's disappearance in August of 1994.
Oh, I love America's Most Wanted.
The airing of the show brought in a tip that would trigger the FBI to look into a couple working a chicken farm in Campty, Texas.
Okay. I was not putting 2 and 2 together, and now it just slapped me in my face.
Before investigators made a move on the farm, they surveyed the property. So they did a lot of surveillance. They wanted to confirm that Richard and Samantha Dial were actually Randolph Dial and Bobbi Parker.
Shut the front door.
They were looking for signs of distress from Samantha, and they were looking for signs of weapons and trying to determine if Richard Dial was in fact Randolph and what was the risk of Randolph taking off to avoid capture. So they were trying to assess the whole situation. So they stood back and just watched. Once the investigators were pretty positive they were looking at Randolph Dial and Bobbi Parker, they decided to make a move. The day the investigators moved in on the home of Richard and Samantha Dial, the scene was calm. There was no screaming match, no resistance, and no gunfire. In fact, Randolph Dial slowly emerged from his trailer home and was taken into custody by police. And shortly after, Bobbi Parker appeared in the doorway. 2 slowly made her way out of the trailer and toward the police as instructed. And police were surprised by her appearance. She was in good and healthy shape. Not the atypical look for someone that had been held hostage and abused for almost the last 11 years.
Yeah, because she was peachy keen.
Investigators moved into the home and began searching the residence. They found a loaded pistol on the kitchen table, condoms, and Valentine's cards shared between the two over the years. And by all accounts, it looked exactly like a home that a married couple would live in.
What the hell?
Co-workers, however, said it was very evident that Samantha, Bobbi, was not happy. And the co-workers described her as a very nervous individual who was always seemed to be looking over her shoulder.
I bet, gee.
They said they often saw Richard or Randolph working on his art projects while Bobbi worked hard in the farm. So he was like doing art and stuff. And we'll get to that in a minute while she was working so hard and he was just playing around in the garage. The reunion between Bobbi and Randy was extremely emotional, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And the couple asked for privacy while Bobbi adjusted to being back at home with her family.
What the hell's going on here?
And Bobbi, unfortunately, was finding adjusting to being at home very difficult. She didn't want to talk about the last 11 years and about her being held hostage. And her husband, Randy, didn't want to push her because she'd been so traumatized. So he couldn't imagine what she had been through and he didn't want to push it. So Randy did notice her behavior was unusual. As in, she would ask Randy if she could go to the bathroom. She would ask permission for everything. Like, can I have a glass of water? Can I go to the restroom? Like, she asked permission for everything before she made a move.
What in the world?
And these behaviors told Randy that his wife's every move while under Randolph was controlled. She had no freedom all these years while in Randolph's possession. So while the Parkers asked for privacy, there was still an investigation to be conducted. The day that Bobbi and Randolph took off, an inmate saw Bobbi driving her minivan with Randolph in the passenger seat. The inmate said the look on Bobbi's face was that she was in great distress. While interviewing Bobbi, the investigators asked why she never tried to escape. That they knew every few weeks she drove to Center, Texas with a friend to pick up supplies, meaning she was out of Randolph's control, right?
Yeah.
So why didn't she run on one of these supply runs?
Yeah.
Bobbi stated she actually planned her escape several times, but always talked herself out of it in fear of retaliation toward Randy and her daughters. Per Bobbi, Randolph threatened to kill her, Randy, and their two daughters if she even tried to leave. He made Bobbi believe that he had connections to the mafia and that they owed him a favor, and that he was happy to call in that favor if she tried to leave. The thought of harm to her family kept her compliant to Randolph's rules and demands. Bobbi went on to tell investigators that within the first few days on the road that Randolph purchased a gun and would often hold it to her head, threatening if she tried to do anything.
Dear Lord.
Bobbi also claimed that Randolph tied her up for the first few days, where he would beat her, assault her, and force her to consume alcohol or do drugs.
Goodness.
And I said it was a palate cleanser, didn't I?
Yeah.
And at one point, he left her restrained in an abandoned apartment.
Usually I'm a good read on you. And you're giving me all kinds of different vibes. I don't know what's about them. I don't know what's going on here.
When Randolph was questioned, he corroborated the same story, that he had threatened to harm Bobbi and her family if she was not compliant with his demands. Though investigators weren't quite convinced that this was the real story.
Yeah, me neither, investigators.
In 2004, Randolph suffered from a heart attack, in which Bobbi stayed by his side and even wrote him a love letter while he was in recovery.
Oh, did she?
After the heart attack, Randolph could no longer work in the heat at the chicken farm and went back to making art. So that's why the co-workers were like, she's doing all the work and he's playing with pottery in the garage.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got so confused just now. I thought you meant like currently, or like after they had already been caught. He had a heart attack.
This is them telling the story.
Gotcha.
Like as they were kidnapped together
Sorry,
or
I got
whatever. He held her
confused.
hostage.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. Bobbi had multiple opportunities where she could have run for help. In fact, the store in Center, Texas, where she drove with a friend or chaperone, was directly across the street from a police station.
Come on, Bobbi.
So she could have gone to the station, told the story, and Randolph would have had been picked up before he even knew what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've been thinking this whole time they're having an affair, but I didn't want to say it.
Investigators weren't convinced that Bobbi hadn't developed a relationship with Randolph while working so closely together in the pottery studio. Yeah. Some speculated that Bobbi was a willing participant, that she ran away with Randolph so they could live the rest of their lives together.
Which is going to be really shitty if that is true, Bobbi.
3 years after Bobbi was rescued, she was arrested and charged with felony charges for aiding a prisoner escaping from prison.
Oh, shit.
At the trial, 80 witnesses were called to testify, and 800 pieces of evidence were seen by the jury.
Oh, my gosh.
The 800 pieces of evidence were pictures of Bobbi and Randolph together and smiling, affectionate letters between the two of them, the greeting cards, evidence that they had lived together as a couple, the condoms, and then not to mention the multiple opportunities Bobbi had to escape.
Yeah.
Throughout the trial, Bobbi stood firm that she was kidnapped and only cooperated with Randolph for the protection of her family. But before Bobbi was to stand trial, Randolph Dial died in prison at the age of 62. Bobbi's attorney, Garvin Isaac, was concerned that Bobbi would not receive a fair trial now that Randolph had passed. His testimony was important to Bobbi's innocence. So up until his death, Randolph never changed his story that he kidnapped Bobbi, held her against her will, threatened to harm her family, and manipulated her by basically brainwashing her that her family wouldn't want her back now that she had been tainted by a murderer, or that she had been gone so long her family had moved on and no one cared to have her back at this point.
Oh my gosh.
So when it was time for the jury to deliberate, they took 3 days to consider all the evidence, and after 3 days they found Bobbi guilty for aiding in Randolph's escape.
Wow.
Once the verdict was read, Bobbi showed no emotion as she was escorted out of the courtroom, while Randy's head fell in disbelief and he was consoled by friends and family.
Oh, that poor guy.
Bobbi was sentenced to 1 year in prison, but was released after serving 6 months.
Oh, wow.
During her imprisonment, her attorney filed an appeal because he felt she did not receive a fair trial, and they had mounds of evidence proving Bobbi was held against her will. Though the appeal remained pending, even though her release from prison, she never saw another trial, so her conviction remained guilty.
Okay.
Bobbi was released from prison after 6 months. She was a free woman, no parole or probation. She was finally free. After her release, and her attorney continued to try to overturn her conviction, but her conviction remained intact and was never overturned.
Okay.
So this was a real struggle for everyone involved. Was Bobbi in love with Randolph, and did they run away willingly together? Or was she an innocent woman held against her will and trade for the safety of her husband and her kids? Even the Judge Ray Elliott, who presided over the case, really struggled with the jury's decision that Bobbi was guilty.
Really?
In fact, for her crimes, Bobbi could have served up to 10 years. But because the judge felt so torn, he gave her the minimum sentence of 1 year.
Wow.
After the trial, not much is known about the Parkers. Bobbi was privately reunited with her daughters, and per record, she remains married to Randy.
Really?
Randy eventually promoted to warden of the William S. Key Correctional Center in Fort Supply, Oklahoma, and it is unknown if he is still working or he is retired.
Hmm.
The entire Parker family has stayed away from media and has not consented to any interviews. So no books have been written, no interview taken, and nothing public about the family at all.
Wow.
It's actually pretty amazing how under the radar they've been, considering the whole situation.
That's insane.
But that is my short little story of Bobbi Parker. So,
man,
you guys can do with that what you will about whether you think she like developed a crush and ran away with him, or if she was really.
It's hard for me
held
to
against her will.
think that she was kidnapped, but all these love letters are there.
Right. And I can't think
That's
of
some good dang planning and acting.
what's the term, like when you almost fall in love with your captor?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about? It's not like the Munchausen stuff, but like where you develop this relationship with your captor. And I felt like, okay, well, is that kind of what
people
happened?
are screaming at us right now.
I'm sure they are.
I mean, maybe. I mean, they were living together for 11 years and
she
had love letters, and
she had opportunity to escape.
he had a heart attack. I'd have been like, peace.
So, and the chaperone that was going with her to get supplies in Center, Texas, this is so funny. It was Randolph's old like high school teacher or something. And he had threatened her, and he wanted her to participate and be the chaperone for Bobbi, but had threatened to harm her family if she didn't cooperate and make sure things like went as they were supposed to. So these women going to Center, Texas to get supplies. So she had, Bobbi had her own fears, and then her chaperone had her fears about her family.
Yeah.
So that may, have played a part of it too.
And so she testified to that? Like she said he threatened her and stuff? Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
80 witnesses.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Insane.
That's insane.
And 800 pieces of evidence proving.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's crazy. It's Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome
is the name.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you were going to have a secret relationship for that long, and then all of a sudden you just return to your husband and live it out,
and that's how the story goes. Like,
yeah.
That they just returned back. I mean, I'm sure
my mind is boggled right now.
I'm sure life wasn't like normal.
Peachy.
Yeah, but there was definitely some adjustment. I mean, like as a husband, your wife has literally been serving as a wife to another man for 11 years.
That's insane.
That's hard to wrap your brain around.
Wow. Well, thank you, Ashley, for that.
You're welcome. So you guys can talk about that, whether you think she is.
That's a head scratcher.
Yeah. Was she a willing participant or an innocent woman?
Tell us.
Tell us your thoughts.
Comment away. Well, thank you guys. Once again, if you have a case recommendation or a tale or...
Oh, yeah. That one came from my Mimo. Thank you, Mimo.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Mimo. If you have a recommendation or anything, let us know.
Do we want to cover your dad's recommendation?
Yeah. Let's throw this in. Gary Walsh. First of all, he did get his credit because he did recommend my last case, the Trinity River Massacres. But promptly after, he sends me a Facebook message on an article, and he said, "Man, y'all should cover this. This is crazy." It was the eyeball killer,
which we definitely covered.
So thank you, Dad. I know you're an avid listener now.
We covered Charles Albright, the eyeball killer.
I just kindly responded and said, "Oh yeah, we already covered him. It was a crazy case."
See episode.
Episode 1. No, I'm kidding.
I can't remember what episode Charles Albright was.
It was one of our
definitely covered him already.
Ones,
He was a wild one.
Mm-hmm.
The taxidermy.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Well, anyways. Okay.
Anyway.
Rate and review.
Like,
email
subscribe,
us,
and share.
inlawsandcrime@gmail.com. We're throwing it all together now. Rate and review. Yes, please. And keep your roots deep.
And your head on a swivel.
Bye.